Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. So my name is Miki Kinoshita, as I was introduced. I'm from Bayer, and I'll be moderating this session, which title is Japanese Startups, Key Triggers to Achieve Biotransformation. So in this session, we are delighted to have two wonderful panelists who will share their expectation for Japanese startups as a catalyst for biotransformation. So before deep diving into the session, I would like to give a brief introduction for those of you who are new to the term biotransformation. We call it BX. So biotechnology harnesses cellular and biomolecular processes to develop technologies and products that improve our lives and ensure the health of our planet. So as we face pressing social issues like environmental damage and resource limitations, biotechnological advancements offer a chance for a brighter future. So they have the potential to not only tackle these challenges, but also drive sustainable economic growth. So this transformative potential defines biotransformation, a movement traction worldwide. So okay, now it's time to meet our experts who will be guiding our discussion today. So our first panelist is Mr. Tatsuro Kosaka, currently the chairman of the Committee on Bioeconomy at KEIDANREN and senior advisor of Chugai Pharmaceutical. Mr. Kosaka brings a wealth of experience to the table, having served as president and CEO of Chugai Pharmaceutical. So next, let's give a warm welcome to another panelist, Dr. Tom Knight. A true titan in the field of computer science, Dr. Knight is widely recognized as the godfather of synthetic biology. His groundbreaking work has revolutionized synthetic biology field, and his co-founding the world-renowned Ginkgo Bioworks is a proof of his visionary leadership. So to begin this session, we'd like to invite our two esteemed panelists to share their perspectives on the bioeconomy, highlighting their current activities and aspirations for the future. Okay, let's give the stage to the real stars of the floor. So Dr. Knight, could you please share your insights on Asian bioeconomy and overview of Ginkgo Bioworks business and its role? So the floor is yours, Dr. Knight.
Thank you so much. Before I begin, I'd like to thank my colleague sharing the stage, Mr. Kosaka, and for his very kind invitation to speak today. It's a rare opportunity to engage the remarkable bioeconomy in Japan, and I'd also like to thank Mr. Uozumi, who is the director of the KEIDANREN Bioeconomy. Let me begin by talking a bit about the latest technology that we are developing at Ginkgo Bioworks. On the left of this slide, you're seeing the pictures of our remarkable automated assembly line for data in our latest data factory, which is producing biological data at a scale which is otherwise unachievable. Remarkably, many of you may be familiar with robots that biological robots that are able to handle plates and do a single set of protocols at large scale. This system is designed to be a little bit different. It is able to interleave many different protocols at the same time, jockeying plates from one place to another in an integrated way, which allows us to perform many different protocols simultaneously on the same system. That allows us to debug and produce new sets of protocols and operations rapidly. We will be deploying this particular facility in our new Biofab 1 building, which is built right across from our existing facility in Boston, Massachusetts. This facility is I think going to provide us with an ability to create data at a scale which has never been seen before in biology. We'll be able to handle thousands of plates of assays in an integrated way in a set of assembly lines that are able to replace much or most of the manual operations involved in producing data with fully automatic mechanisms. Ginkgo was founded on the idea that we wanted to make biology easier to engineer. And I come out of a background which I think I'll talk more about in a few minutes, engineering not just cells, but also computers and semiconductors. So I definitely have an engineering attitude towards building systems. And one of the things that we're trying to do at Ginkgo is to apply the lessons of engineering to the scientific discipline of biology, to allow us to make biology easier to engineer. This has been a theme for Ginkgo from the very, very beginning. When I was here in February, we had a presentation from KEIDANREN where they explained to us the importance of the set of power rangers, which are representing the different strains of high technology biology here in Japan, from the white kinds of biology representing industrial biotech, to the blue marine biology, to the red pharmaceutical and healthcare related biology, to the environmental biology of the gray Power Ranger. All of these are things that resonated with my attitude at Ginkgo. We have programs, as you'll see in a minute, in all of these different disciplines. But one of the things that struck me is that we were, I thought, missing a discussion of what I think is a really fundamental issue in growing the Japanese bioeconomy. And that issue is what is the substrate? What is the underlying technology that allows us to do all of these other marvelous things? It's one thing to say, I want to go and develop some great industrial strain to solve a particular problem, or a therapeutic in the medical space. But all of that work relies on other things happening. And the other things that are happening include the support from all of the governmental agencies, the support from places like KEIDANREN, the support that is provided by other manufacturers of other technology. We heard a lot about the companies that are working in these 5 spaces. We heard very little about the companies that are supporting them. I'm thinking about companies like Hitachi, companies like Sony, some companies that are like Nikon or Olympus, that are producing the laboratory instrumentation that we require at every stage to actually get work done in that technology. And I think they deserve as much of a place in this bioeconomy as the people who are doing the direct resulting work. It's critical also to mention all of the other supporting infrastructure, all of the governmental support, all of the institutions which are helping to create meetings like this, all the resources that are necessary every time you pick up a pipette, or better yet, a robot, you are making use of things like the National Gene Bank at NBRC. And we would be nowhere without that technology, without the ability to use those, those technologies in a seamless way. I would also say, at this level, we should also be thinking about what is the educational program that is being provided. How are we educating the next set of workers in this technology? And what is the critical role of both the universities and of sort of the non-university educational programs like iGEM, which educates 5,000 students every year in synthetic biology. So I would encourage people to be thinking not just about the individual things that can be done with our technology, but also what does it take to support that technology. As I mentioned, Ginkgo is involved virtually in all of these technology areas, and we are reliant on the technology that comes from Japan for a lot of our work. We are dependent on companies like Nikon and Olympus and Hitachi. We are dependent upon the culture collections. We are dependent upon the universities providing the research that lets us go forward. All of those things are things that we are depending upon, and I think that we need to recognize up front how important all of those things are. I wanted to mention how broadly Ginkgo is involved in the bioeconomy, not just in Japan, not just in the United States, but also widely in Europe. This is just a representative set of companies that we are heavily involved with already, and we hope to make make this diagram much larger and include many more Japanese companies in a similar presentation we might do next year. I wanted to mention briefly the sheer scale of the data that is available to us at Ginkgo. On the left-hand side of the slide, you see the number of genes that are available in GenBank, or UMDB, the protein database. It's around 250 million genes. Sounds like a lot. Most of the AI systems that you are familiar with that people talk about, like AlphaFold, are trained on that data set. The barcode on the right, which is the green one, is the set of genes that we have available to us in our database at Ginkgo. It includes at the moment about 2.7 billion genes. And as you can see, it's growing much more rapidly than the database that is available publicly. We are using that database to train our own AI models, and this is not something new for us. We're not newcomers to AI and the technologies that build on it. We do have a recent upsurge in in our ability to build those models, and have hired rapidly in that AI space. But it's not something that is brand new to us. The size of that database really depends, determines how successful your models are going to be. I think increasingly people are discovering that the data is the critical resource in building those kinds of models, in being able to predict the behavior of these biological systems. Most recently, we have decided that this data is such an asset and of such use to other people that we have started licensing this data to other organizations. And so we are now, for the first time, willing to license this data to allow people to build their own data models on top of this data, or in some cases to come to us and to create databases using our fully automated robotic technology, our data factory, to produce a database which is custom designed for their own application. And we don't have to own that database. They can own that database themselves. We will simply provide that data to them. But we're willing to share that data and to incorporate that data within our models if that's something that they would like us to do. Another recent development is that we have finally realized that although Ginkgo is very capable across a wide variety of technologies, all the way from generating smart cells to the deployment of those cells, to scale up in small-scale fermentation, all the way to helping our customers create large-scale fermentation systems, that we are not necessarily the very best in the world in all of the technologies. So, for example, there may be a company that's better at better than Ginkgo at building and analyzing an antibody. As a result, we've assembled a set of companies that are not trying to partner with us, but where we have essentially a set of technologies and companies that are willing to work with us to solve customer problems. And so if there is a way in which we can solve a part of a problem and hand it off and have a company that perhaps is more dedicated to a specific area and is more competent than we are, we're happy to work with that other company in a partnership way to solve a customer's problem. So this idea of technology networks, I think, is going to be a very important one going forward. Ginkgo has been working, as an example, in working with the Japanese bioeconomy, has been working for the last 5 years with Sumitomo Chemical. And over the last 2 or 3 years, that relationship has grown a good deal. We now have several programs working with them, developing important chemical technology to solve their problems. Another company that we have recently started working with and we're very excited about is Simpligen. And Simpligen has a unique capability of assembling large DNA fragments using bacillus. And we are working with them for the first time to evaluate that technology and to bring that technology within the set of things that we can utilize to build complex systems at Ginkgo. This placeholder was supposed to be replaced by an exciting announcement today. And the exciting announcement, which we couldn't put into the presentation because it was just announced this morning, is the announcement that we are now working with Sojitz, the Japanese company that is representing and bringing us together with other Japanese manufacturers. And we've just started a set of meetings with other Japanese companies that we have been introduced to through Sojitz. So that is the beginning, we hope, of a very important way of us becoming more integrated into the Japanese economy. I wanted to stop this short presentation by discussing the global bioeconomy. All of you are very familiar probably with the announced efforts in Japan to essentially dominate the bioeconomy. Their 5-year plan includes massive outflows of resources to their bioeconomy. They are actively creating, a biofoundry in Shenzhen and in many other places like, Wuhan and in Shanghai. They have located their biofoundry right next to their supercomputer center in Shenzhen. I have every reason to believe that they will be successful in, driving the bioeconomy. Those of you that read the technical literature are aware that, some of the most impressive technical results in the last several years have come not from the United States, not from Japan, not from Europe, but have come from China. We are in an economic, competition like nothing you have ever seen before, and I believe we need to stick together. We need to create a bioeconomy in our world, which is going to be able to, to solve problems that we want to solve in ways that we want to see them solved. One last thing I would say is that, it isn't just the bioeconomy that is, necessary to solve here. We also have a responsibility to the biosecurity of the world. We saw from the COVID attack, how important biosecurity is. Ginkgo has a responsibility, we feel, to be leaders in that technology. We would like to share that responsibility with other Asian countries, which we think that's the only way we are going to be effective in building and maintaining a bioeconomy that will get us to where we want to go. Thank you, and I'll stop there.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Knight, for the wonderful presentation. I really enjoyed the surprise appearance of the gold ranger. So it's also very impressive that the Ginkgo provides a platform that supports various bio-based industries. So I have many questions to you, but I will keep them after Mr. Kosaka's presentation. So now, Mr. Kosaka,
yes,
could you please tell us how KEIDANREN works to establish a cutting-edge bioeconomy in Japan?
alrighty, thank you. Thank you, Kinoshita-san, for your kind introduction. And first, let me express my deep appreciation for you, Tom, to participate in this session, traveling all the way from Boston, Massachusetts. So, hello everyone. My name is Tatsuro Kosaka. I'm chair of the Committee on Bioeconomy of KEIDANREN and senior advisor to Chugai Pharmaceutical. So could I have, yes, thank you for my slide. As you know, the bioindustry is expanding dramatically, not only in pharmaceuticals, but also in materials, food, textiles, energy, and all other areas. It is expected to play an important role, not only in sustainable economic growth, but in solving various social issues the world is facing, such as global warming, food crisis, ocean pollution, and emerging infectious and intractable diseases. In other words, the evolution of biotechnology has the potential to bring about biotransformation, that is BX, which will transform the very nature of society itself by achieving solutions to social issues and sustainable economic growth, both. In this situation, KEIDANREN launched the Committee on Bioeconomy in June 2022 to establish a cutting-edge bioeconomy in our country. Since then, through discussions with various government officials and experts, we have been intensively discussing the issues Japan is facing, strategies that should be adopted, and necessary countermeasures. On March 14th, 2023, we published Biotechnological Transformation Strategy, BX, for Sustainable Future, a first policy document that proposes the vision of what Japan should aim for, strategies, and concrete measures to realize the vision. Also, we declare the determination and challenges that business industries will tackle in cooperation with various shareholders. So this report is now available on the KEIDANREN's website. In this report, we proposed 5 strategies that are particularly important for Japan to realize BX as quickly as possible. Number 1, use biotechnology to create value, build ecosystems. Number 2, use biotechnology to protect the Japanese public's way of life, ensure economic security. Number 3, use biotechnology to take a proactive role internationally, global rule-making. Number 4, position biotechnology as a priority for the nation. Integrate policy making from a government command center. Finally, number 5, support biotechnology as an entire society, cultivate understanding among the public. As part of our efforts to realize our recommendations, we have distributed a pamphlet to you today to promote understanding among the public. The pamphlet explains the possibilities of biotechnology in 5 different fields. Using the 5 colored characters, we call it BioRangers in an easy-to-understand manner. The movie is also available on YouTube. We prepare English version as well. In addition, we published our new policy proposal about BX on April 16 this year, where we propose several items on particularly important measures for the formulation of the next government biostrategy, which is to be released in June this year. So I will touch upon it later. To establish a state-of-the-art bioeconomy, it is essential to actively and organically collaborate both domestically and internationally. I hope this session and SUSTEC event will be opportunities for new encounters, and that it will not be just for today, but will lead to future collaborations. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kosaka, thank you for your presentation. So I could understand very well that the KEIDANREN's various initiatives aimed at achieving both solving social issues and sustainable economic growth. So I believe that Dr. Knight and Mr. Kosaka's presentation have deepened our understanding of biotransformation. So now to further enrich our understanding, so let's deep dive into the panelists' expertise with additional questions. So in today's event, many startups and ecosystem players are attending this session. So as a first topic, I'd like to begin by asking both of you about the role of startups as a growth driver of the bioeconomy. So first, Dr. Knight, I'd like to ask you, so Ginkgo is now a big biotech company, but it was one of the startups when it's founded 16 years ago, right? So could you please elaborate on the journey of Ginkgo Bioworks and its role in the bioeconomy? I know time is too short, but yeah, I'd like to hear that.
Well, thank you for the question. I will say I was not prepared. Normally I would have come with slides for this presentation, but I don't have any. But I appreciate the opportunity to tell you a little bit about my background and how we collectively have gotten to this point, both at Ginkgo and as the technology of synthetic biology has evolved over the years, in the world. My background is as a computer programmer, a computer designer, a semiconductor designer, and a professor teaching all of those things at MIT. I spent 40 years at MIT. I got all of my degrees at MIT. Joined the faculty in about 1983. And during that time, I became quite adept at building computer systems with whatever technology was out there. By the beginning of 1990 or so, I was teaching the semiconductor engineering class at MIT, people designing integrated circuits. And you probably have all heard of Moore's Law and the ability to predict a self-fulfilling prediction based upon people agreeing that this is the direction the technology should go in. It's not a law. It's an expectation. The expectation that every year or so the technology would improve by factors of 2. And the core way in which that happened was by shrinking transistors. In teaching my class in 1990 to the set of students, I asked them, they all knew about Moore's Law, it had been going for several years. I asked them, when does Moore's Law stop? When does it not work anymore? And why? And the answer, of course, is that we run out of atoms. Using lithographic techniques, using physics that is exposing resists and chemical processing on silicon wafers, you simply end up with transistors that are at the atomic scale. And that works until it doesn't work. And it doesn't work when the statistical fluctuations in those transistors becomes too great. And you could predict when that would happen. It would happen around 2017. And it has happened. Moore's Law is no longer working. Anyone who tells you differently is not lying, is lying to you. Moore's Law is over. And so I started thinking in about 1990, what does the next technology look like? What is the technology that's going to overtake semiconductors in building the next set of really important things that are going to happen in the world? One way I started thinking about this was to say, all right, the core technology which we need is not building better lithography or better polishing or better etching. It's building better chemistry, because the chemists are the people who are able to put atoms precisely where they want them. I can build a chemical compound and every one of them that gets created is identical. They're not different, there's no statistics involved, they're all the same. And then you ask yourself, what's the best chemistry? And the best chemistry is biochemistry. And so somewhere in the early 1990s, I decided that if I was going to be technically relevant in the next generation, I needed to know about biochemistry, and I needed to know it in depth. And I essentially went back to school and became a biochemistry and a biology graduate student. I was in there in the sophomore undergraduate lab learning how to pipette things, just like all of the sophomores. And it was very educational. I recommend that to anyone who is at that age in their career. I was around 50. It's a great time to become a graduate student. And I learned an awful lot. And somewhere around 1996 or so, I was on advisory panels for the US government, notably DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, the people who brought you the internet and GPS. They run advisory panels every summer, and I was tasked with developing a plan for what should be on that next advisory panel. What their project should be. And I proposed one that we called cellular engineering. And I got them excited about the possibility of building cells that did things in the real world, that built things that we're now building on a routine basis. And they funded my laboratory at MIT. I set up a microbiology lab, a BSL-1 lab at MIT in the computer science department. My colleagues in computer science thought I was crazy. They were probably right. And they were somewhat fearful. What's going to come out of that lab? Who knows what will happen? So it was a great deal of fun as well. And so after a couple of years, MIT remarkably attracts some really, really smart students as graduate students coming in. And so I attracted my set of graduate students. One of them has gone on to be faculty at MIT, a fellow Ron Weiss. He ended up, as a synthetic biology faculty member, at MIT, but later I continued to attract some really smart graduate students, and in about 2004, we established the very first iGEM program came out of my lab at MIT. That has gone on to grow to be a worldwide competition happening every year in Paris. It has educated probably something like 30,000 or 40,000 students over the years. Many of them are now faculty in synthetic biology at universities all across the world. In 2008, 4 of my top graduate students were all getting ready to graduate and deciding whether to be, whether they should go into academia or into industry. And they show up in my office one day and say, Tom, we're thinking of doing a startup. What would you think of that? And I said, gee, that sounds like a great idea. What would it be like if I joined you? So the 5 of us started Ginkgo in about 2008. We did it in the midst of a recession, which turns out to be a great time to start a company because all of the other companies are going out of business, and you can collect all of their equipment at very low prices. And so we started in 2008, grew to and with no venture capital, grew until about 2014 when we took our first venture funding through Y Combinator, in San Francisco, and went public in 2021. So that's the version of Ginkgo and how we got to where we are today.
Thank you, Dr. Knight, for sharing such a valuable insights and the journey, whole through journey, like from your start of your academic experience at MIT, and that's quite interesting to know. It's a pity that we have very limited time today, so I hope we could have another opportunity to learn a lot from you. But fortunately, as we are approaching the end of our session, so I'd like to have closing remarks from our panelists. So first, Mr. Kosaka, are you ready to give your closing remarks to encourage the startups attending here today?
Yes. Actually, Tom spoke a lot, more than I recommended. So I could not cover all my parts, but you see, my final words are quite straightforward. So again, as indicated, the theme of this session, Japanese startups are key triggers to achieve biotransformation, BX. BX cannot be achieved without startups. The world needs you, and you are the one. Let's make bioeconomy together. Let's actively and organically collaborate beyond the wall between startups and conventional large companies. KEIDANREN's Committee on Bioeconomy is open. Many startups are newly joining our committee lately. So we do welcome newcomers. Thank you so much for your participation in this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kosaka, for such an inspiring and encouraging message to the Japanese startup community. So thanks to you, Mr. Kosaka, I imagine that there are many audience today who are newly realized KEIDANREN is openness support for startups. So Dr. Knight, could you share your closing remarks for the encouragement of the startups joining here today?
The idea of a startup is a very interesting one. The idea is, it's a small group of people. They have a remarkable idea. They want to push that idea forward as rapidly as possible. What we need to do is figure out ways of accelerating that process. How do we make the startups more effective? How do we make the startups have less risk in solving their problems rapidly? And I think a partnership with a group like Ginkgo, it's not the only company in that space, but I think partnerships are really the key to accelerating the growth of startups. I also wanted to mention that startups aren't the only place where we need innovation in the bioeconomy. Much of our discussion with companies here in Japan are not with startups. They're with the established industrial companies that have unique problems that are difficult for them to solve on their own. And so I think we have a lot to offer, not just to the startup community, but to the set of industrial suppliers that are well established, that have a market, that already are facing a set of challenges, whether those are environmental challenges, whether those are challenges that come from the need to reduce costs in of their technology. We have an opportunity to create a shared solution to some of those problems, and I would very much like to welcome that opportunity, both from the startups and from the established industrial players.
Thank you, Dr. Knight. Dr. Knight, Mr. Kosaka, we are incredibly grateful for the opportunity to have learned so much from you today. So let's extend our heartfelt applause to our esteemed panelists today. Okay, so moving forward, I sincerely hope that a new collaboration between Ginkgo, KEIDANREN, and the vibrant Japanese ecosystem players, including a new hero called Ranger, will flourish, enabling Japanese startups to play a role in advancing biotransformation. So once again, thank you so much for joining us today, and enjoy the rest of the great session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please give a big round of applause to our speakers. どうもありがとうございました。